Thanks for coming on to the webinar and joining me. If any of you haven't met me before, I'm Beth Laws and I'm a technical consultant here at Somerford Associates. What we're going to be looking at today is the Varonis Data Security Platform, and more specifically, we're going to be taking a look at the DatAlert Suite. So just to go through what we're going to cover today, firstly, we're going to be going through a brief overview of what we do at Somerford Associates and who we are, just because some of you might not be familiar with us. We've got a brief overview of the Varonis Data Security Platform as a whole and what it does. I'm also going to touch on the threat landscape and why it's important to be protecting and monitoring your organization's data. And then after that, I'm going to go through some of the DatAlert Suite and its threat models, and I'm going to show you a quick demonstration of the Varonis interface as well, just so you can see what the platform actually looks like. And then just before we come to the end, I'm going to touch on the Varonis data risk assessments we've got available. So who are Somerford Associates? So we're a leading provider of technology solutions and services, and we're also a certified platinum partner with Varonis. So we're one of the go-to partners for expertise across some of the UK's largest companies. So that's across a range of different industries and even for some government agencies as well. So as consultants, we're very customer focused, and we understand both the business and information management challenges faced by organisations today. Our professional services team is all comprehensively trained in every one of our solutions we offer, and all work closely with our customers to meet their specific requirements. Varonis has helped many customers to monitor, protect, and manage their data. Varonis adopts the methodology of detect, prevent, and sustain in order to help their customers succeed with the data journey. The Varonis Data Security Platform, it's used to detect insider threats, account activity, and user behaviours. It also looks to prevent any disasters by ensuring sensitive and stale data is locked down appropriately by easily assisting with the remediation of any over-accessible folders. Varonis also then helps to sustain the secure state of your environment with things like the possibility of setting up automatic responses to alerts. You have the option to migrate or quarantine any stale or sensitive data. And there's also the option to give data owners the option to regularly review, approve, and deny access to their own data. So if anyone isn't familiar with Varonis, just to tell you all what Varonis can do as a whole. So it can look at all of the data stored in your enterprise data stores. So this could be your on-prem file shares, it could be Microsoft 365 and SharePoint data, it could be NAS devices, and now this can actually even be cloud data. Now they have the DatAdvantage Cloud product available too. So it's looking at all this data in your enterprise data stores, and the majority of what is stored in there is unstructured data. So by that we mean things like your documents and spreadsheets and files that we often don't know much about, and we don't really know what's in there and who's been accessing these. In addition as well, Varonis also looks at the infrastructure that helps to access all of that information in the data stores. So it's taking information from Active Directory or Azure AD, for example, and it's taking a note of those users and security groups in your environment. So Varonis is able to tie all this information together. So more specifically, we've got information about the users and groups and their permissions pulled together to understand and easily see who has access to what data. To add to this, it can even help to easily remediate any overexposed data as well. So this really helps organizations when it comes to the data protection. It can also look at the content of your files. It's able to determine whether these are sensitive or not, and then identify what type of sensitive data exists within your file shares. And when you combine being able to identify what data is sensitive alongside monitoring user behaviour and all of the access activity, this can really help businesses to ensure the compliance with things such as GDPR. It can also issue alerts on any suspicious behaviour. In addition, it has built-in alert models. Varonis also employs user behaviour analytics. So that means we can start to understand what is normal behaviour for users and service accounts, and then alert on any behaviour which is deemed as unusual. And then since now Varonis also offers their Edge module, it can either look at perimeter telemetry, so monitoring DNS servers, web proxies, and VPN access. So that's really going to help organizations with the threat detection and response times. So why do we need to think about monitoring behavior that goes on within our business, and what are the threats out there? One of the biggest threats posed to our data is the amount of increasingly successful cyber attacks. It's really not uncommon nowadays to hear about huge companies being hit by things such as ransomware attacks. It's something that no business is really immune to, and it can happen to anyone. And as we all do hold data, and you know, sometimes data is one of the most valuable assets within a business nowadays. A common type of attack is a ransomware attack. So if you're not familiar with this, this is essentially when a cyber criminal manages to gain access to your data, and they'll use a form of malicious software that then encrypts and exfiltrates your documents and files so that you're unable to access these. And sometimes they'll even stop you from accessing your backups as well. So this could really mean that your business could be brought to a halt. Usually, if you are hit by ransomware, you'll be asked to pay a ransom payment as well to get your data back. And on top of that as well, they'll probably also threaten to expose and leak your data if you don't pay them. So for this to happen, it does actually mean that an intruder has somehow gained entry to your systems. So there's a lot of common ways attackers use to gain access. So things such as password spraying or spear phishing emails. But these tactics, they do seem to be becoming more and more clever and more sneaky as well. So if a company is hit by a cyber attack, what are the things we need to consider and think about? Well, firstly, once the breach is detected, which bear in mind, this could actually be a lot further down the line, so it could be weeks or even months before an organisation may actually realise that someone has actually been able to get in and actually detect that. So once we actually know about that breach, we've got to consider that it actually takes security teams a lot of time to go and investigate the attack and look into what's happened. And this will obviously be taking security teams away from their other important tasks. Next, we'll need to think about the blast radius. So how much of that data has been accessed, and has this been encrypted or exfiltrated, you know, in order to gain an understanding of what the intruder has access, you know, and how much data was taken or has this been copied. Again, so all of this is eating up that time of those security employees by investigating. And obviously all this time spent does have costs associated with it. At some point, as I said, it's likely that the attackers will reach out and ask you for a ransom sum. So, you know, cyber criminals, they'll demanding you to pay a large amount of money, and in return, they'll be saying they'll give you your data back. So these amounts of money, they are normally huge. So in fact, one of the highest ransom sums recorded in 2021 was a request for a payment of $42 million. So we are talking about massive amounts of money here. And as well, actually, it's worth mentioning that a lot of organizations, they do actually decide to pay for the asked sum of money. And, you know, despite whether they've actually decided to pay or not, it doesn't actually necessarily mean that they're going to get all of that data back. You know, there's also the possibility that they've already actually copied your data and they're already selling your information on already. So Varonis believes that security starts with the data and we should be protecting it and locking it down best we can. This way, it means that if an attacker is to get into your environment, Varonis can help you prepare for the worst by helping you to understand where that sensitive data lives, make sure that only the right people have access to that data, and alert on any unusual activity or suspicious behaviour. And ultimately, all of this is going to be helping to minimise the risk if someone malicious was to gain access to your systems and be minimising that damage that a potential cyber attack could cause. So moving on to Varonis and its DatAlert Suite now, and how it can help organisations with their threat detection capabilities and help protect them against insider threats and ransomware. Varonis is very proud to offer a platform that uses user behaviour analytics. So this is very useful when it comes to looking at protecting your data and making sure only the right people are accessing this. And it's locked down appropriately, but it's also very useful when it comes to alerts as well. It's designed to provide you with meaningful alerts, and it tries to avoid drawing in an overwhelming amount of alert noise. By employing this user behavior analytics and monitoring users' behaviors, so watching things like what are they accessing or where in the world are they logging in from, it means that it's able to build up a profile on users and get to know what their usual behavior is, which then means if any behavior which is out of the ordinary happens, we can then be alerted on this. Cybercriminals do have ways to gain access to companies' infrastructure which can go undetected by the usual antivirus or anti-malware solutions. And even if they're using security information and event management systems, these are usually monitoring events from systems rather than events from users. And it can still go often go that it's unnoticed that an intruder has gained access and is acting maliciously across the network. For example, if an intruder were to use the technique of password spraying, and successfully gain entry, they might appear as a normal user to the IT department watching, those system activities. But this is exactly a scenario where user behavior analytics could really succeed and notify you of account access needing to be investigated. As well as UBA, Varonis has another level of threat intelligence in its suite. There are increasingly many ways and tools that attackers use to compromise organizations' accounts and data, and Varonis has got many predefined alert models built in to help detect and prevent against these. Varonis has tools it uses alongside these models, such as dictionaries containing names of common hacker tools, which have been known to be used by them in order to gain access to a company's system. Varonis can then raise an alert when one of these systems is used. So this is really going to help security teams to stop an attacker in their tracks. Some other examples of alert models would be encryption of multiple files, unreasonable geo-hopping. So that would be if an employee logs on right after else in the world, 10 minutes after they just logged on in America. So later they're meant to be logging in from Albania or somewhere like that. And then another example of one of the built-in threat models would be data exfiltration using DNS tunneling has been detected. So Varonis also issues updates to ensure the platform is up to date with their latest threat models. As cyber attackers' techniques are forever changing and forever improving. I also just want to add as well, these alerts, so like the built-in threat models and the user behavior analytics models, they're also included in the new Varonis SaaS data security platform. And with the Varonis SaaS platform, you do get an extra level of security too, as you will have access to the incident response team, So this means because you're with the SaaS platform and you are connected to the Varonis cloud, it means the Varonis team of cybersecurity experts can have eyes on your alerts at all times. So if they see something alarming, they'll be able to make sure you're aware of this. It's possible to set up custom alerts as well. Many businesses have the requirement to be alerted if something specific happens. So if there's something in particular that your organization needs to be alerted on, you're able to set up custom rules for these and be alerted in near real time. The alerts can be fine-tuned as well, so you're able to specify specific things. So, if there's particular users you want the alert to be triggered by, or whether we want to know about the alert if it only happened within a certain time period, or whether there's certain sensitive information or specific folders that have been accessed. Varonis also allows you to set up automatic responses to alerts as well, and it even has the option to automatically run a script when a specific alert is triggered, to really help combat potential attacks. And you can also configure these alerts to be sent straight to a SIEM, so such as Splunk. That's one of the ones it can work with. Varonis comes with a series of dashboards too. As you can see on the slide here, there is the very useful alerts dashboard. So here you can see a summary of the alerts over time and various other panels displaying things such as top alerted users and top alerted devices. You can filter on what's displayed in the dashboard as well. So you're able to see alerts from a specific server if you wish, or filter on the level of severity of the alerts as well. From the dashboards, alert investigation, it's very easy to dive into the deeper details of the alerts to find out more information and, really try follow that trail of the attacker and investigate that activity to try and understand the path they've taken and what data has actually been affected. If you have been breached, you can quickly realize the scope of the attack and know exactly what files and data have been affected. Varonis enriches its alerts with more information, so this is to help you gain more context of what's been happening. And it's a really important tool when considering how quickly you might need to report on this to the relevant authorities or governing bodies or management level. And all this information can be pulled into a CSV report as well from the Varonis interface, which is really handy. So for all the alerts on the alerts dashboard, you can see more information about the events, as you're able to dive deeper into the alert details to see things such as, whether this account has triggered any other activity recently, or whether this account has accessed sensitive data, as another example. So I just want to take you through a very brief demonstration of Varonis and show you the alerts dashboard and how you can make those custom alerts. So just give me a moment and I'll just get the demo up. So as you can see, I've got the alerts dashboard open at the moment. So we've spoken about this, and as you can see, we've got the various panels summarizing some of the information about the alerts which have been triggered. So if you do come across an alert which you're wanting to investigate, it's really easy from here to see some of that extra information. So you're able to click on the 3 dots here for each of the alerts. So let's say we wanted to find out a little bit more information about what's been going on with these GDPR alerts here. So I'm just going to click on View Alerts. And then I'm actually going to take a look at the alert details for this alert from Margaret. So what you can see here is I'm giving a lot more context about what's going on. So we can see for this account for Margaret that it is a privileged account. And we can also see that 7 alerts have been triggered in the past 7 days as well, which is definitely a red flag. If we do scroll down a little bit further as well, you can see here that the data that was accessed, so 100% of that data was accessed for the first time by Margaret. So you can see that there's actually a couple of things that are looking rather fishy here. So the other thing I just want to show you is how you go about making those custom alerts, which might be use to you. So I'll just head over to the DatAlerts interface. So you can see when I first open up DatAlert, you can see there's a list of the alert models which we're already using. So if I just open this one up, you can see we have the option to enable or disable these as well. So if I wanted to make one of these custom alerts, I'd just click on the green plus sign up here. Just let that load. So when you are setting up an alert, you go through each of these panes to choose your settings. This general pane, we can see things like the name and the description of the alert and set the level of severity. And you can even set the requirement for an action to be repeated multiple times before the alert is actually triggered. Next, we have the Who pane. So here you can select where the area of concern is. So oh, sorry, no, I've just got that wrong. I'm talking about the Where pane there. So the Who pane, you can actually set here what you want this rule to apply to. So who you want this rule to apply to, sorry. So this could be if there was a certain user you wanted this to apply to, or if there was a certain security group you're interested in. Sorry, and now we come to the Where pane. So this is what I was just speaking about. So this is where you can select where your area of concern is. So perhaps if there's you know, a certain type of sensitive information that nobody you not want anyone to be touching. So the next pane, we have the What pane. So this is where you are specifying exactly what is that action that you're wanting to be alerted on. So examples of that would be if a password has been changed, or another one would be if someone had logged in on a VPN in a certain country, or another one would be if group policy settings have been changed, for example. And you know, there's a lot of different events that you can set in here. So moving on to the When pane. So this can be used if there's a certain time period which you want the alert to apply to. So, you know, perhaps if you only want to know about something if it happens at the weekend, or, you know, out of your usual business hours. And then finally, we have the alerts method here. So alerts can be displayed in the dashboards, as we've seen, and email notifications can be sent as well to the appropriate people. And this is where we would also go about setting up a script we wanted to run as well. So that does conclude the short demo. I'm just going to get the slide deck up again for you guys, so just give me a moment. Before we come to the end, if you're not currently a Varonis customer, I just want to talk to you about the free data risk assessments which we have to offer. A data risk assessment is a free assessment of your own data stores that Varonis and Somerford can provide. Many organisations are not aware of how much of their data is sensitive or where this lives and who has access to it. So a data risk assessment, or we do sometimes refer to these as DRA, they can show you specifically where your weaknesses are and make recommendations for minimising the risks in your environment. The assessment does come with a report, which will highlight things such as where you've got any excessive open access, in particular if those files and folders contain sensitive data. It'll give you information about things like Active Directory vulnerabilities, so things like if there's any accounts with passwords that don't expire. It'll give you information on whether you've got any stale data in your environment. And all of this is coupled together with statistics, so you can really gauge the severity of the risk within your environment as well. There are specific types of risk assessments available, which means the report you will receive will be just more tailored towards those different areas. Which of those you would choose would just be completely up to your business and what your priorities are. You can see, for example, we have a specific compliance assessment, so that would be good for you if perhaps GDPR was a big concern for your company, or even the Microsoft 365 assessment, so that might be good if your business uses 365 and Teams really heavily. Or we do actually have an assessment which can really test how resilient your environment is against attackers and attack scenarios. So this one they call the cyber resiliency assessment. As I have already mentioned, the assessment is entirely free. It's also really easy to get set up as well, and throughout this time you'll actually have access to the Varonis incident response team as well. So if an attack crops up during your risk assessment period, they'll work with you to recognise and remediate any real life attack. So that does bring us towards the end of the webinar. Hopefully most of you have found this useful and have got an understanding of how Varonis and its alert models can help organisations stay ahead of the game when it comes to cyber threats. Please feel free to get in touch if you do have any questions about DatAlert at all, or any other questions about Varonis at all. So you can email us at info@somerfordassociates.com. Thanks everyone for taking the time to listen today, and hopefully we'll hear from some of you soon. Thank you.